Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Gray. I have Andy Walker from Striker Digital joining us today. Andy and I are going to be going through a real live chat back and forth on something that I have questions on about my website. So, Andy, what are listeners going to learn by the end of this?
A lot. No, but we're going to do a really high level overview into like you basically in this episode you're getting into the mind of somebody that oversees has overseen multiple hundreds of SEO campaigns for home service businesses specifically, and we're at a unique point with Austin's business where he wants to specialize further into specific services versus when we started working together, it was much more broad and there was maybe some indecisiveness about which services they really wanted to narrow down into. And now I think he's came to that conclusion. So it's what's the best path forward now for me to be able to rank for these specific services, these keywords? How do we go about doing this? There's multiple different paths, and we're going to talk about all of the different paths because in something like this, like SEO specifically, it's not 2 + 2 = 4. So there's a lot of different paths that can lead you to the same destination. And so then it's just understanding the trade-offs because there's going to be trade-offs with each of those paths to get to that point. And so you could talk about, potentially whether it's a different website, overhauling the existing website, what that looks like as it relates to content on the site, any off-page work that needs to be done, the Google business profile, potentially with a name change, right? Some things like that. So it'll be good. Austin, I guess if you want to tell them maybe like where your head's at with the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm going to provide some contents. Context. I'm going to also provide specific questions that I have, and I'm going to give listeners an overview of a decision that we are making internally. Before we do that, I wanted to share with you guys, we have been having a ton of fun building a school group. I have been sharing everything that I've been learning from people like Andy, from running Facebook ads, from optimizing Google business profiles. We share everything inside of a free school group. It's school.com/ownerops. If you have not joined yet and you've been a listener of the podcast, we would sure love to have you in there. You're going to learn things like how to optimize your Google business profile from Andy himself, how to run profitable Facebook ads for home service businesses, how to set up an optimized jobber. Anything growth or systems related will be in there. So we'd love to have you in the group, school.com/ownerops. All right, so back to the topic of when I started the business, we didn't really know if we wanted to be a forestry company or an excavation company. And it was based on ultimately just an indecision on my part as the owner. And so I'll take responsibility of that. But I'm sharing this because I think there are people and listeners out there who struggle with the same thing. When you're starting your business, and especially when you're bootstrapping, you are optimizing for cash flow. It's so easy to say yes to more services if that equates to more cash. And so the reality is we said yes to things like gravel driveway repair, trenching, excavation, forestry, fire mitigation. But when I started the business, I had this mission in place. I found a problem, which was, dead wood is littered across the forests of Colorado and the Western United States. And I thought that I had the solution to go solve that problem for people. And I had a thesis that people would pay me to solve that for them. But in the early days, you don't actually know until you start testing it. So once we started getting some jobs, it's like, okay, great. Forestry and fire mitigation is there. I just don't know how much demand is there. So I said yes for gravel driveway. And then my head from an SEO perspective is like, well, we need to optimize for all of these services. And so that's when I came to you guys and we built this strategy to sort of go broad with our services. Fast forward 3 years later, I'm learning that as a marketer and as a business owner, it is much simpler to build a business centered around one main service. Purely from a marketing perspective, it's easier, but also from an operations perspective, it's easier because you can document SOPs, you can build processes, your team can get really good at doing the one thing really well. And so 3 years in, we're at this point of where I've identified that we have a profitable service that has an average order value of about $13,000. Our customer acquisition cost is $339. our operations manager, or AKA our project manager, was spending only 20% of his time selling this service because 80% of his time was going towards the excavation related stuff with all the logistics around it. And I had this realization where I'm like, as a marketer and as an owner, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to market all these services, when in all reality, we should focus all of our strategy on the most profitable service and then get the team behind delivering the most profitable service. Now, where that puts us right now is this conversation that Andy and I are about to have about my website in real time. So, taking all of this context, Andy, I've given you more context offline. What do you recommend we do moving forward?
Yeah, so we're going to talk through it together because it'll sort of be a collaborative decision. So like this is the way we work when somebody comes to us as a client at Striker Digital, and maybe they're spread across a bunch of different services. It's kind of like the initial onboarding is kind of like consulting a little bit to basically we get to see inside hundreds of different businesses and see who performs really well and what works, and then attempt to have them apply that to their business because it's going to be the best long term outcome for them. And so like Austin's, we're using like right now lane clearing, the forestry example, but this also relates to people who do remodeling, right? There's people who are home builders plus bathroom remodelers plus kitchen remodelers, and they do X, Y, and Z other services. Or you're a roofing company who's exteriors because you do gutters, you do siding, you do roofing or whatever. But what you'll learn is that even just before we get into SEO marketing as a whole, it's really hard to push all different offers, right? Like, so even for us, like as an internet business with an audience that follows us, there's a lot of things that we do, and we do them well and we can help people, but we can only really communicate one, right? Like, or else one, you're also like people like specialists in things. They like somebody who's super specialized and like that's the only thing that they do, right? If you're going to get a really intense heart, you're going to get a heart surgery. You're probably not going to go just to like, you're not going to be okay with the orthopedic surgeon who just does ACLs and knee replacements all the time, right? Like you want the specialist in there. So like from a marketing standpoint, when somebody comes to your website and they're looking for forestry or land clearing, whatever your service is, and all of the branding is directly for that, it feels super personalized. Like this is exactly what I came for. This is exactly what I was looking for. And really, so that's what SEO is, right? And so the terms that that homeowners search, which there's going to be like, well, look, there's going to be like a wide variety of the variants of search terms, right? So there's going to be near me searches, location searches, just the term forestry. People are just going to search that. Like one thing to think about as we work through this, because I'm going to have a lead into a question for you, Austin, about forestry. But when you're thinking about SEO for your own business, if you're a painter, you might use the term repaint, right? Where you repaint a house. And so you might like want to have like a primary service page on your website about repaint. I don't even know what that is. Like, I had to work with painters for a while until I knew what a repaint was. Like, just call it house painting, right? And I mean, you just get into the lingo of your own business, but you got to always step out and think, how does the actual homeowner consumer who has literally no idea, like how this works at all, what terms do they use, like in their natural language, like when you're like doing sales with a person, what are the terms that they're using? And so before I take a step further in SEO, I want to dive into like forestry itself. I think land clearing is like pretty like obvious term, but forestry, like I think there's just a lot of different terms that a potential homeowner is going to use to come across this service, right? So to you, forestry probably has a definition which I'd want to hear, but I want to hear like when you're talking to homeowners, like what are they saying? Because this is going to lead into like the keyword research that we do to then put together a plan on the next steps forward.
This has been the $1,000,000 question for our business. How do we build an SEO plan specific to what the customers are actually searching for? And guys, hear me out on this. I'm 3 years in, so what Andy and I are about to talk through is an actual conversation that he and I would have, whether we're on record or whether we're offline or not. What I call services in my business may be industry or contractor lingo. What Andy just mentioned is so important. So unbelievably important, because what we're about to do is craft this SEO strategy based on what we believe the customer is searching, because that's all that matters. So internally, we use land clearing machines, right? But here in the Western United States, nobody's like the residential homeowner is not searching for land clearing. In the South, in the Midwest, in the Southeast, I think there are people who are searching for that term. Like, hey, I want my land cleared because it's overgrown. Here, it's not really a thing unless you're a commercial contractor. The only people who are searching for land clearing are builders, developers, general contractors, because they want a company to come in and clear, like actually clear the land of the trees and the stumps. A residential homeowner, people buy homes in the mountains for the trees, for a healthy forest. That's part of wanting to live in the mountains. So for us, optimizing for land clearing, selling a residential service doesn't really help us in the Western United States. So my $1 million question in the code that I've been trying to crack is, what are people searching at the residential level whenever they want wildfire mitigation done? Now, I'll also take another step back here. When we did the initial keyword research around wildfire mitigation, there's not a ton of search volume, at least from what Google tells us about that. What I can tell you here from a local operator, boots on the ground, is that wildfire mitigation is a conversation at the local level in these mountain communities. And so I've fought this battle consistently between, like, how do I optimize our website to tell people what we do in a way that blends with what they're actually searching for. And not to get too far off topic here, I believe this is why Facebook ads have worked really well for us, because we're doing interruption marketing. We're not going off of Google search, and we're simply just saying, like, hey, if you want to protect your home from wildfire risk, we offer these wildfire mitigation services. Everybody here who lives here and owns a home in the mountains is aware of wildfire risks. Why? Because the insurance companies are demanding it at this point. You have to perform certain amounts of wildfire mitigation work, which, from a service provider perspective, is tree removal or tree services or forestry work, or however you want to word it. We're removing trees and vegetation from the property. But we got to figure out as a marketing team, how do we go identify what the customer is actually searching? When Google is throwing us the curveball and the search trends are throwing us the curveball of, like, hey, there's not actually a ton of search volume for this, but I'm also validating that there's demand through interruption marketing with my Facebook ads. So this is why I've brought Andy in on this conversation, because I want his expert advice here.
Yeah. And so again, we're getting into SEO, but like going off of what Austin said there, I think is super, super important. So there's different levels of like, so this case is like really helpful for you guys to listen to. Like, I definitely recommend listening to this because Austin's situation is much more unique than if you just have a roofing company or a cleaning company, right? Like that's super straightforward, super simple. The level of awareness is really high, right? Like people are there's levels of awareness from completely aware, problem aware, solution aware to most aware, right? And people are a homeowner with a roof, they're most aware, right? And so the insurance companies are pushing people from completely unaware into like a solution, maybe problem, they're problem aware, right? But they don't know of a solution yet, right? So like they know this is a thing, the insurance companies are pushing about it, they know they need this. So now they're aware of the problem, but they're not aware of what solutions are out there at this moment in time, right? So what Austin is doing essentially, so like I have some search volume pulled up for specific terms and whatnot that we can look into as well. But what he's doing with like interruption meta advertising is he's communicating to like when in his ads, like what he already said, like about wildfire mitigation, he's communicating properly to a completely unaware audience, right? So in all of his ads, he could have different ad sets where there's completely unaware, which is curiosity driven. You know, like these three things that are causing you to gain weight, like that's a curiosity driven type of hook, right? And so these three things are putting your land at risk, like whatever it is. You know, I'm sloppy, just spitballing it right now, but something like that is gets the attention of a completely unaware audience, and now he's making them problem aware. And then through his different ads, he can make them solution aware and then most aware, where he has the offer that he delivers them. And so what he's doing though, like what he's doing on the meta side, is Austin is really creating his own market right now. Like he's essentially like, there's not much competition out there, and it's not at the level of internet marketer that Austin is. And so he's kind of creating the demand himself. And so what we're trying to capitalize on the SEO side is there is low search volume for this, like statewide, naturally, for this type of service. But as Austin himself creates a market or competitors come in, people go from completely unaware to problem and solution aware. Then eventually search volume will increase over time for those specific services. So we're trying to capitalize on that now before that happens, before other people attempt to move into the market, right? And so like I think that's just important to know of like where your prospects are. And this, so specifically like for roofing or cleaning or whatever, like they're going to be most aware. They're going to be super aware of the solutions and everything like that. This case is a little bit more unique, which makes it a lot more fun. And so what you're going to see a lot of times is, if it was even easier to do this attribution, there are tools to do it. Austin, just so you know, but I would not be surprised at all that people see your ads and then make a Google search and then find you, right? So you can see the first attribution is through the ad and then through the Google search, which is exactly what you like. That's perfect. You know, there's typically going to be multiple touch points. But as it relates to finding the search terms, right, for like what we actually want to target here. So there's a completely free tool. As long as you have a Google Ads account, you just have to spend a couple dollars within your Google Ads account. It's called Google Keyword Planner. And so like we, at Striker, we pay for the expensive tools. We have Ahrefs, we have SEMrush, we have all of that. I literally always fall back to Google Keyword Planner. It's my favorite. It's completely free. And so what you can do in there's, I mean, the search volume is the most accurate because it's Google's. Google owns this tool, right? So it's the best place to get it rather than third parties who are, like trying to pull in the data. It's just going to be like delayed, maybe some inaccuracies. Like you go from tool to tool, you're going to see some changes in search volume, but like directionally, it's correct. Like if the search volume is growing on there, like directionally, it's correct. But like if you want to get super granular into the amount of searches, which is for Austin service, since there's lower amount of searches, we want to get a little bit more granular into it. And Austin, am I able to share my screen on here?
Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah.
So this is Google Keyword Planner here. And so like if you guys are familiar with the Google Ads interface, I know it can be overwhelming and confusing, but if you just come over to the left side navigation bar and go to Tools and then Keyword Planner, you'll hit a screen before this where you need to select your location. So I just did the entire state of Colorado since there's some lower search volume, so we could get like a directionally correct, make directionally correct assumptions about search terms. Then I just threw in land clearing, forestry, fire mitigation, which are broad, right? And so one of the things to take into account here with search volume is you'll see land clearing 50 average searches monthly over the entire state. But what, like, if you take that at face value, it's just completely wrong, because there's going to be tons of variations of land clearing searched, right? That's probably going to lead to like a couple thousand searches. So like even like the first one, so like when you put in these search terms, like the three terms I put in, Google will then recommend keyword ideas below it, right? And so you can already see there's land clearing is 50 searches, but land clearing near me, 140 average monthly searches. Land clearing services near me, 110 searches. Land clearing companies near me, 210. So you can see how like the search volume can actually stack, right? Because there's just like, no one's going to all have, we're not all going to search the same way and the same thing, because we have different levels of education about this service, right? So somebody might just search land clearing because they don't know what other words to attach to get like a more granular search for themselves. And so when you were looking through these keywords here, though, like something that goes through my mind, and like if you guys go to work with an SEO agency or anything like that, you want to make sure they understand the difference. You understand the difference. So this is done correctly, because I've seen it done incorrectly a lot of times. There's really two types of searches that people make on Google. There's informational searches where they're just looking for information. So this might be how to unclog a toilet, which is a DIY solution, how to repair a tire, whatever the search term is. Those are kind of like informational searches. And from an SEO perspective, like our job for our clients is to get them leads, right? Like that's the only reason you spend marketing dollars is to get more leads. So we're entirely focused on what we call transactional search terms. And so transactional search terms would be like pest control near me, land clearing near me, land clearing services near me. Those are what we call transactional search terms. So that's really what we want to target, because in a transactional search term, if you think like if you go to Google and you search plumber near me, you're probably not just going to browse the plumbers in your area. You probably need a plumber like like right now, like probably, right? If you're making that search term. So like those are what we want to target. What we want to like the SEO company should be focusing their efforts on is these transactional search terms. But as we go through here, you also have to question like what is the intent behind these searches outside of informational and transactional. So you can see 3,600 average monthly searches for forestry, right? But forestry, that's a broad term, right? There's probably like forestry schools or like, whatever the case is. So we got to get more narrowed down through there. But from what I'm seeing so far, land clearing has a decent amount of search volume. Austin, if you were to toss another term in here for, because I see like forestry mulching and things like that, would anybody ever refer to what you do with the term mulching in it?
Yes, forestry mulching is a
Okay.
type of machine that we run. So when you see the machines that like Alex Boyd is posting, that I post sometimes, there's like a big head or attachment on the front of a skid steer. It spins really fast and it shoots the vegetation out. Like if you guys have seen those, that's called a forestry mulcher. For those of you who are not familiar with the industry.
And then one other thing to add in here, that if you do see, I saw like land clearing cost per acre. So like this has 10 average monthly searches. So you could determine if it's worth it or not, but you could have an informational blog post about how much does land clearing cost in Breckenridge, Colorado, right? So hyper targeted to a specific location and the cost of it, because this kind of falls in between informational and transactional, right? Like I set them aside two definitions, but in the real world, things blend, things are sloppy in the real world, right? So it's not like perfect cut and dry. So I added forestry mulching in here. Austin, is there any? And so this is what we actually do. So like in our onboarding form to work with us, we'll always ask, what terms do you think that people search to find your business? And so I want to ask you that question right now, Austin. I know I kind of asked it earlier, but what others would you add in here?
So we've experimented with tree removal and tree service company. We've done that for the last 3 years. All right. And I've ran Google ads on it. Here's what happens. While there is more volume for those search terms, the vast majority of those types of leads are calling us where they're like, hey, I've got one tree close to my home, or I've got 3 trees that need to be taken down. Our bread and butter service for fire mitigation is anywhere from 1 to 35 acres. That's our ideal customer who we want to target. So we really don't like, we're not optimized to go do the residential tree removal jobs. I think one could argue that, hey, you should capture all that demand and build a residential tree crew. And we've talked about that internally. For now, as an exercise, I'm challenging our team internally on the operations to focus on our bread and butter. And for this conversation on SEO, I'm challenging us to focus on our bread and butter ideal job. The other search terms that I have not explored yet, which I'm really interested to get feedback on here: forestry company or logging company. Like people may be searching for that. Internally as a contractor, I know that our company is smaller than an actual logging company. Why? Because logging equipment is really expensive. It doesn't make sense for them to an actual logging outfit to mobilize to a job that's under 50 acres. It just doesn't.
Yep.
Big machines, right? But there may be, like, people may actually search for those at the residential level if they have 10 acres or 15 acres. And I'm
Yeah.
interested to see what comes back here.
Yeah. So the interesting thing here is like this is where like this situation is very unique, because again, like as I'm probably going to mention it like 3 or 4 more times, but the homeowners don't necessarily know what to search exactly to find you, right?
That's
So
right.
like when you do market for tree removal and tree service, like they can be looking for the forestry service. They could be potentially even looking for fire mitigation services or land clearing
Absolutely.
services and making these searches. But you also know that like probably the majority of like 60-70% of them are going to be just like a singular tree removal, which isn't the bread and butter. And so that's where like that's a challenge. That's an SEO challenge overall as a whole, right? It's because like you want to capture that demand, but you only want the demand that you you want, but you can't control people's intent behind their searches, which makes it pretty interesting. So I'm going to remove tree removal and tree service. We're going to know already. Like I can tell you right now, like there's a lot of search. We're looking across the state of Colorado. There's going to be a ton of search volume for that, and
Yes.
then logging company as well. Obviously, like that might be a little bit different, but that does fall into the realm of like what someone, because to me, like I'm aware of the services because we work together, but I still would consider myself like I'm problem aware and solution aware, but I'm not most aware because I don't know, like I don't have the land or have had somebody come to my place, right? And so like I'm kind of a good example to use as well in this. So we're look sorry, go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say the other two that come to mind that we haven't put in, like our name is land services just because I kept it general, but I think that could be one, but more specifically land management is what some people search for on the forestry side of things.
Alrighty, let's see. So forestry mulching, 110, forestry company 10, logging company 30, land services is rather high.
That's crazy.
Relatively like throughout these land management 70, land clear near me 140. And so something that you guys could do also is I'm not going to do it right now because it would take too long, but something in my like research process, like working with one of our clients I would literally download this data or at least screenshot the data or like whatever way you want to go about it. And I would put this into GPT. And so all of these things that we're talking about, I would be like sharing my thoughts with GPT to help me work through the problems and solutions to find the solutions that we want for like these specific search terms and whatnot. Cause you can just kind of use it as an advisor sometimes. Right.
Would you
But
be comfortable doing that in real time?
yeah,
Like prompting it, downloading it, prompting it? I mean, like I'm all about adding as much value for our listeners as we possibly can. If there's a process that you go through internally, and if it can help our listeners, like let's do it. And we'll use my business as the case study here.
yeah. Let's see.
And while you're doing that, I can just jump in and kind of share more thoughts around the strategy. So yeah, if you don't mind to just mute while you're kind of
Yep.
preparing everything on that end, I'll keep rolling on my end from like why I'm thinking through this right now, and then also some of the biggest learning lessons. So I don't want to distract you from what you're doing. Cut me off or just raise your hand whenever you're ready to roll, and we can jump back over to that.
Yep,
So
you're
the
gonna
big
see my mouth moving though, just so you know. I'm not talking. I'm talking to talking into GPT here, so you see my mouth moving. But
Cool. Yeah, and I'll share about that too. So Andy just shared a tool with me called Whisper.ai, I believe, and it's where it can dictate your voice. So he was telling me he very rarely types anymore. He just talks into his microphone, and then it transcribes it. And he uses this for things like prompting ChatGPT, um, really for anything like customizing Slack, writing Slack messages. All right, let's go here. Okay, so why I'm thinking through this right now. So one of the biggest lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur and as a marketer. As entrepreneurs, our kryptonite is shiny object syndrome for the vast majority of entrepreneurs. What I'm learning is the most successful entrepreneurs focus. And that's the hardest thing for me to do personally. And I'm sure if you're listening out there, you struggle with it too, if you're an entrepreneur. Because if you're entrepreneurial minded, you see opportunities everywhere. Like there's not a day that goes by that I don't see another opportunity for another business. But being able to tame that and put all the focus on growing Bear Claw and the Owner Ops podcast and what we're doing here is where I believe exponential growth is going to happen. So like our first big checklist, my goal was like, all right, let's hit $1 million, right? And it's like after we checked that, then I kind of got distracted a little bit where it's like, okay, we checked the box, but what I'm challenging myself to do is, okay, the easy thing for me to do would be go start another service business. Like, I know the playbook right now. I know how to do it. I know how to optimize Google Business Profile. I know how to uh, build SEO plans, at least at a very baseline, right? I have people in my court like Andy, professionals who can help accelerate the growth process. So the easy thing would be to go start another service-based business in a local market. And by the way, there's opportunity absolutely everywhere. Andy and I even dealt with this internally because, like, I started Colorado Power Wash, paid them to do SEO for that. That started kicking off leads faster than I expected it to. And I did that in like the first year of Bear Claw. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like start doing SEO on this. I'm going to let SEO do its thing, start generating leads. And then, after I get Bear Claw 7 figures, then I'm going to jump over and build Colorado Power Wash. The reality is it's that from talking to other experienced entrepreneurs, like they kind of laugh at that. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, you just like, you got to learn how to be focused as an entrepreneur. And we all went through that. It's sort of the feedback that I've received from other guys who are farther along. Long story short, sold Colorado Power Wash to another one of my friends. He's taken that. He's running it now. Yeah, told me he actually did like 41K last month or the month before. So he's taken the baseline of which Stryker has created, and then he's grown it. It was so much easier for me to just create one service and then pay Andy and them to build an SEO plan around Colorado Power Wash because I wasn't like emotionally invested in it. Whereas Bear Claw, I was emotionally invested in starting it. So I was optimizing for cash flow. So I've already mentioned I went wide with my services because I was owner operator bootstrapping it. I had a skid steer. I could go sell forestry services or fire mitigation or whatever we're going to end up calling it. And then I could do driveway repair. I could do grading. I could do excavation. Cash flow was king. But as we've grown, I'm realizing that not everybody's entrepreneurial minded, like you are if you're listening to this. And what people want, especially if they're showing up to work as an employee for a business, they want simple. The simpler, the better. Somebody said something recently that I really appreciated. You don't get any more brownie points or any more money for building a more complex business. So actually, the goal of every business is to make sure that every employee has a great place to work, that the business makes as much profit as possible, that the customers are served in the best way possible. And so therefore, shouldn't the goal be to make as much money as possible? And the answer is yes. And the way to do that is to simplify things. So 3 years in, I'm learning this, I'm sharing this. This is a brain dump, and it's what I wish I would have told myself 3 years ago. Once again, what we did got us to here, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, if you're ready to jump in, we can jump back onto that.
Yep.
But correct me if I'm wrong. The best entrepreneurs you work with and the people who are making the most money are the people who have picked a service and figured out how to scale that operation.
Yes, and they've been doing it for a long time. That's a key thing. Is we've been around in this space, like Twitter specifically. We've been around in this space for like 3 or 4 years now or so, and it's really interesting because the same people that were here 3-4 years ago and that are still doing the same thing, they're all doing really well at this point in time.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we ready to jump back over there?
Yep. Yeah, I lost view of you. Your camera went away, but
Yeah,
there you go.
here we go.
Okay. Yeah. So when we went into this, we were so this was kind of a mindset shift that I had as I was working through this year. And again, I just did it quickly, right? I didn't want to be spending like 20 or 30 minutes doing this so we can get back into action. But we kind of went into a mindset of like it's either this or it's either that, right? There was just we couldn't have any blend of things. Like we just like kind of came into it with that mindset, which isn't necessarily the correct mindset, because you you can have a blend. It's just like a matter of like how wide is that distribution? Is this like 12 different services that we're trying to target? Or like since these services are like pretty similar and somebody might be searching land clearing but also want fire mitigation at the same time, right? Like we can really blend the two. And so when you go to let me pull up a website here to show. You mind if I show your website, Austin?
Yeah, go for it.
So what you're going to see here is this is a heading 1 tag on a website, right? And so I'm not going to try and get too technical that I just lose you here. But
Hey, can you click share again? I accidentally missed the link.
yep. All right. You see me? See now?
Yep.
Okay. Good deal. So what you're looking at here is top rated land services in Colorado. This is Austin's heading 1 tag. And so like if you worked with us at Striker, like one, we would explain it to you. We educate you along the whole process so you know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it or whatever. But you don't necessarily have to know that. Your SEO agency should be just taking care of this for you. But this is outside of the title tag, which the title tag is if you're in a Chrome browser and you look up at all the you probably have 100 tabs open right now. The text that you see up in there is what you call the title tag, right? And then this is the heading 1 tag. Uh, Pretty much two of the most important pieces of text on your website and every single page that exists on your website. And so what happens is there's 2 buckets in SEO. This is how I reference it. There's a relevance bucket and then there's a trust bucket. So relevance, you can think of everything on your website, right? So when somebody goes to Google and they make a search, Google's job is to show them 2 things: a business that's relevant to what they search and a business that's trusted. So on your page, when Google looks at your title tag and your heading tag, that's where they're going to gain most of the relevancy there. They will, like, the rest of the content on the page does matter. These are just like 2 of the very most important parts, and among other technical factors as well. But when you communicate extreme relevancy, like the more targeted you can be, the better. So if you're a roofing company and you service a wide area, if you narrow that down to roofing company in Boca Raton, Florida, and you're not trying to rank in West Palm Beach or all the way down to Miami or anything like that, you're going to rank much better when it's hyper targeted because it's extreme relevance, right? But for Austin's, there's lesser competition. And so we don't need to be like as like heavily narrowed into like just Winter Park or just like whatever the location is and what the service is. And when you do have multiple services, we'll typically go a little bit more broad in the heading 1 tag, whether we want to or not. Like we also just this also just has to make sense for your business too, right? We have to represent the business correctly. So like there's always this blend and balance that happens. But in here, we saw, I believe that land services had pretty significant search volume, around like 160 or so per month, which like other services in different industries, you're going to see much higher search volume or wider range or whatever, right? And again, like this is going to be narrow because it's more niche, but land services is good to keep because it covers is rather broad because as we keep going back to this, the homeowner is going to search broad terms because they're not like in the most aware bucket. They're not like, I know exactly that I need fire mitigation or that I need like this specific term. So their searches are going to be broad. So I do like in the heading 1 tag having land services here. And fire mitigation, if Austin tells me that fire mitigation, like this is the thing, like this is what we're going all in on, you can blend the 2 together. It could be top rated fire mitigation and land services in Colorado. And so like that's totally fine. And so that's where I was getting a little bit caught up early on because I was like, oh, I don't want to have to make a decision. And I realized I was like, oh, these 2 blend perfectly well together because just the intent behind the searches of what people are going to search, it's going to feed into either route that they're coming through. Right. And so then like that's the heading 1 tag. But you also communicate with you communicate with images on the website, right? Like people gather a lot of insight and detail from the images and they're going to look at them before reading like 300 words of text as well, right? And so in images on the website, I mean, Austin has his services all listed out. Like, so they'll see it. They're like, okay, I know I'm in the right area. This guy does land services and he does fire mitigation. I can tell by the hero image. Let me reshare the screen so you guys can follow along with me. I can tell by this is what we call the hero image back here. Like, okay, this guy has big, heavy equipment. He obviously clears land. They got a team. They look pretty trusted here with their social proof at the beginning. And they scroll down and right away, it's like this is something that we do on every single website, especially for in a case like Austin's here where this is a little bit broad. But we're outlining any service that they could possibly be looking for when they search for land services, right? Wildfire mitigation solves the same thing as fire mitigation, right? It's the same term. But right away, as they can see all the services of anything that they possibly came here for through land services appears right here. And then you can communicate a lot through these images. And so I think we're totally fine, Austin. just switching, adding in fire mitigation into the heading 1 tag, and have to figure out, have to look at like the text length for the title tag. There's like a text length recommended limit to it. And so I got to make sure we can fit that in correctly. But if you're telling me that fire mitigation, we're all in. I actually don't think we have to make a huge change here, other than possibly more text that's on the homepage, specifically using fire mitigation on the homepage. That's like, I would just add additional content about that specifically on the site. But if we want to go really crazy and you really want to like hack the digital side, we would create
Yes.
firemitigationcolorado.com, right? And so like I talk about having multiple paths. And one of the things again is you don't have to limit in your mind to I can only do one of these paths. You can do both paths. Like if you want to do both, you can do both paths. And so like I think like on the main website, because we don't really want to change it, because we still do want people to find you from those services, because you like at some point in the future you might still want to sell those services, and you might not say no still, because a tree removal is a little bit lower ticket than the big job, but you provide excellent service for the customer. You then on the job make them aware of the problem that they face with fire mitigation, because it's potentially an upsell on site at the time. If not, you have provided an excellent experience to that customer. If they now decide in the future they need that service, they're going to remember you. You can retarget them. You get their email, you have their phone number now. You can reach out to them once a year and say, hey, we're running a special offer, this dollar amount off of fire mitigation for the first 5 acres, some sort of special offer like that. Me and Austin have talked about a lot of offers like that. And so I don't think you necessarily want to remove those and just hide them and cut them off completely, but it's just not the main thing you want people to find you for. But in this instance, there is no 2 + 2 = 4, because it's so unique, and the education level of the target market's not there yet. And so I don't think there's huge changes to make other than like a branding a little bit more on the homepage and the heading tags to fire mitigation. I really wouldn't overhaul a ton with it. So I think maybe the best path would be a second website that's firemitigationcolorado.com. And we build a complete wildfire mitigation page on that exact match domain. We can go grab another Google Business Profile. You grab a DBA. We get another Google Business Profile, which is literally just called like Bear Claw Fire Mitigation. That's the business. Drive 25, 50 reviews to it over the course of time. And like your SEO investment to like do that website, build it out and stuff like that, it's going to be, I don't know, like I have to get into specifics, but it's going to be 5 figures, right? It's probably going to be like 10, 15 over time, $10,000-$15,000 to do so. But when you get one ticket, that's 13,000, right? Like you still have the cost to fulfill, so you're not profitable yet, but you're almost break even off of one job that like this new website and everything got you in a new Google Business Profile. And if something gets you one job, I would expect it to get you 10 jobs and 20 jobs and they're like over an extended period of time, right? If it gets one sale, it's probably going to get 2 sales is how I think about a lot of things. But that's my monologue. That's where I think we're at, is that I don't think, summarize real quick, I don't think we have to completely overhaul. I think we can just add in fire mitigation into title tag, heading tag, add more content specifically for that on the homepage. And then like the secondary pages we do for like location specific content, we've just switched to making sure it's all of those from moving forward are just fire mitigation focus. But I wouldn't remove everything that we've done in the past. That would just like, I just don't find that to be necessary at all. Like I'll allow people to come through that path to find your business, right? Like even if they call you and you say no to the service, like you'd rather have that than no calls.
Absolutely. So I have a couple questions here, but like your investment perspective, it's like even if I paid you for your highest plan, which would be what, like 36K a year.
Yep.
It's like if I invested 36K into this and it brought us 2 jobs over the next 5 years, which it's going to. It's like my point with this is like the investment, and I'm touching on this because a lot of people reach out and ask like, hey, is it worth it to invest in SEO? And I'm like, I don't know, do the math. It's like, what's your average order value? For us, our average order value is high. That's why Bodie like texted me one time. He's like, I love working with you forestry and excavation MFers because he's like you guys are so high tickets. Like I pay for my services in like 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's so true, right? And it's why I love. I don't want to get off on this rabbit hole, but it's why I love high ticket home services. Like for those of you who are out there listening, like you could replicate this model. You could go be like if you wanted to focus specifically on grading, here's actually a great business model that I would absolutely love to scale. I just don't have the time to do it. Like specialize in driveway grading and then go dominate your local market for it. Any rural market, you could just pay Andy to go be like, I want to do driveways, gravel driveways, and I want to optimize for it. And then just dominate every single surrounding area. And I guarantee you, nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, very few people are doing that in markets across the USA. Like this could happen in really any rural market where there are gravel roads. And it's a high ticket service. You're talking anywhere from like 5 to 10K average job size, right? And you could solo owner operate that with a freaking skid steer and the right attachments or a mini X if that's your jam. My point with this is if I can go back and tell myself I pick one service and I focus and I go all in on that and I go to Andy and I say, hey, here's the one service that I want to optimize for, and here's the general area that I want to optimize for. And then I just pay them and I get out of their way. Because we did that with Colorado Power Wash, and what happened?
Yeah, it worked. And that wasn't even that long period of a time
No.
either.
And we were in
Yeah.
Denver too, optimizing. Like, think if
Yeah.
you were in a rural market there. Like, dude, Jake's crushing it. Like, he's solo owner operating. Like I said, he did like 41K a couple months ago. And the dude, like, he bought that from me for like $7,000 after we built that website, right? He was actually
Yeah.
gonna go spend 50K on a cleaning franchise. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
I'm like, dude, this thing's kicking off leads. Like, just pay me for what I have invested in
Yeah,
it.
there was one huge lead. There was like one of the first leads was like a $20,000 lead.
Dude, that was hilarious because so I had that phone number, Google Business, Google Voice number, but it was directing to my cell. So I answered. I'm like, Bear Claw Land Services is Austin, and the dude's like, I thought I was calling a power wash company. And I'm like, oh yeah, we do power washing too. Like, when can I come by? And so I just like booked that, and that was right about the time that Jake reached out. So I was like, dude, just go on the site visit. Anyways, long story short, SEO targeted on one service in a specifically a rural market.
Oh my
Like you can
gosh.
dominate rural
It's
markets.
I think of so if you should see the Google profiles for where I grew up. For plumbing, even plumbing or HVAC, roofing, like like the markets that are like super hyper competitive. I could literally get a profile ranked there if we could ask friends and family for 25 reviews, maybe 50 reviews or so. We would have a profile ranking in there in like 2 to 3 months. It's like rural areas are like you're gonna have lesser search volume, right? Like naturally, there's less people to search, but to rank up top is just like it's a cakewalk, man. It's because people in those markets they don't invest into like they just do not typically invest into this type of thing. Like I could tell you if I did like a deep analysis onto our client base at Striker, like everybody's going to be at least like suburbs typically. Like we don't get me wrong, we have some people that are rural, like we do, but like most people are going to be like suburbs, close to the city, higher populated areas. Those are really the only people that invest. Like I was trying to think, I was like, I think we've only worked with one person in like the state of Vermont. And I was like, I don't even know if we've worked with anybody in like Idaho or like rural Iowa. You know what I mean? Like most of the people that come to us are like from similar states in well-known areas typically. And so like if you're willing to live in a rural area, you can definitely cook. You can do really well.
And the second biggest learning that I've learned about business in the last 3 years working with Bear Claw. First thing, go all in on one service. If you trust the plan and if you pay the right pros, and if you've been a listener of the Owner Ops podcast, like my goal has been to add as much value to your lives for free as possible about helping you grow your local service-based business. And I hope you guys can see that my goal is to surround myself with the best team possible. Like I still believe that Striker, and like I'll say it, I'll stand on this hill until you guys, whatever, sell the business and move on. later on, whatever. But I will stand on this hill. Like, they are the best in the game for home services at SEO. They just dominate. Like, if you don't believe me, just go do like 3 months with them and see their processes and like what you get notifications on. Like, they're building backlinks like crazy for me. So like, if somebody tries to come in, and I just hate to say it, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of like calling my shot here, but somebody tries to come in and compete with, like, they're already 3 years behind of like rapid development that you guys have been working on my website
Yeah.
on, right? And it's like, yeah. So if you're out there, if you're in other markets, like, I can't recommend Striker enough from SEO perspective. And I know they do other services. I've worked with them on SEO, and they cook every single month for me, and I don't have to manage them. That's the greatest thing. Like, some of you guys get in the way of agencies, and like, some agencies need to be got in the way of. But hear me out on this. It's like, if you just tell them what you want to do and what market you want to dominate, there's a really good chance that if you pay them the money, that they're going to cook for you too. Especially if you're in a rural market. I can only speak for a rural market. I haven't done anything in a big city. So
timelines will change as a thing. So like it's dependent upon like what is the age of this business, meaning what is also like a factor that people don't look into for SEO that they don't think about is it's called page age. It's like literally how long has this website existed on the internet is going to be a factor in how well it's trusted. Because remember those two buckets I talked about, relevancy and trust, like that's a factor. You know, like you don't just typically spin up a brand new website in a super competitive market and just rip by everybody. Like, don't get me wrong, it's happened, but like there's a variable of luck that is in there in order for that to happen, right? It's not like complete skill. Like in business, like we have a lot of luck. You know, we catch certain tailwinds or whatever, but you also create your own luck at the same time. But I want to show you this, Austin, like talking about like the level of competition in rural areas. And so this one is where I grew up is in Pennsylvania. And I grew up in this really small town, Watson town, right here. Like there's 2 red lights in this town, right? And so here, this is called Lewisburg. And so there's a bigger university, like a super rich university called Bucknell University. And so there's hospitals nearby. There's all the professors. Like this is like where the wealthier people live in the area. And there's like, it's a little bit more population dense and things like that. If I search, I'm just sitting in Florida right now, so I can't do like plumber near me or something like that. But if I do plumber Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, there's 3 Google business profiles that show up, and it doesn't even allow me to go like typically you'll see like more businesses and you can scroll through like 70 businesses. I know there has to be more because I see some people with LSA that are here, but still, like right now we're looking, this person has a duplicate Google business profile. Depending on how you want to play the game, you could definitely have them suspended. We don't help anybody do anything like that. If you choose to do that, that's on your own, but that's a reality. That's right there. But there's three profiles. Top one has 28 reviews. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 addresses, and this is a supplier right here. It's a plumbing supply store. And so like this is the opportunity in rural markets. Like this is legitimately probably a $2 to $3 million per year potential area of business. Like you got to travel a little bit wider in here, but you could service this whole range right here with your guys and like potentially even more. I don't know the exact number, so it's hard for me to say, but like I just know that's a multi 7-figure opportunity right there. And if we came into SEO in that market and you were able to get yourself an address and then some reviews, like we would, you would definitely get business. Like you would make money from it for sure.
I've got a few more questions here for you. So Andy's already shown the opportunity right now. And if you've been a listener of the podcast, you know that I believe a big opportunity right now, if you understand digital at all, and if you understand how to do blue collar type work, I believe it's one of the biggest opportunities for entrepreneurship right now for millennials and Gen Z. My next question, I want to go back to something you recommended. You were like, hey, if you tell me fire mitigation is the thing, let's go optimize for coloradofiremitigation.com or firemitigationcolorado.com. Now, I've done the research on those 2 domains. Somebody already has those. So my next question for you is, what's your next recommended step? And then I have a follow-up question on that.
Yep.
And I'll ask the follow-up question here shortly, or I'll ask the follow-up question right now. I've done the research to know that people right now from my ads are searching our name, our brand, Bear Claw, in search now. That's our top searched term. So should we play into that with the domain next for the second
Yeah.
piece?
So like so why I mentioned the domain of Fire Mitigation Colorado as a whole, just so I think also you already know this answer, but so everybody gets this, is that again, it comes back to that relevancy and trust bucket. And so one of the things is if your Fire Mitigation Colorado is your domain, it's what we call exact match. Basically, like people are searching Fire Mitigation Colorado variations. We call it exact match. And because it's extremely, if somebody searches Fire Mitigation Colorado, Google can't possibly know if they're just generally searching this term or if they're searching for the website called Fire Mitigation Colorado. Therefore, they have to show you higher. It's, I, I can't comprehend a possible way to differentiate what someone on the other end of the computer that's a human typing is thinking, right? So they have to show it. It's the same thing for your Google business profiles. Like make sure the service that you provide is in the business name. So like if you're a dumpster rental company, it should be like Andy's dumpster rental company, not Andy's sanitation, not Andy's trash, like Andy's dumpster rental, like exact match in the name. And so to answer your question, the first thing that you go through is like primary service and the location that you're in. Exact match the location and the service, extreme relevance, going to rank high really fast. But when that's not available now, and with Austin's input of him having really good branded searches, which what you want to see for your business is your branded searches always being number one. It means you have a good business, you have a good brand. Like fire mitigation near me or a search term like that should not be the first term that people find you from. It should be people that are searching directly for your business. That's just like the biggest businesses that we work with by far dominated by brand name searches by far. These are guys that are doing 15, 20 and numbers above, right? And so since Austin's brand is building, because Meta is also really good for brand building naturally, because a lot of these people that see Austin's ads are not going to just convert right away. They're not just going to see the ad and convert right away. Like they're going to see it and they're going to be in a completely unaware state. And so they're going to be like problem aware and he's going to make them solution aware. And these people might be like within Austin's content and funnel for like 8 or 12 months before they become a customer, right? Like the time from the first view to the time they become a customer could be like a very wide range. And we even see it in our business. I track attribution from everywhere. We just had somebody book a call with us. The first call they booked with us was 16 months ago. Right? They've just like been consuming content for that long until they're ready to, work with us. But not to get off topic, which I know I am good at doing that. Since he has the branded name that's people are searching really well, I think it would totally make sense for bearclawfiremitigation.com because he has the keyword for fire mitigation in it. And for the brand, like you have to take, there's so many components to take into play here, right? So this is why like this is a collaborative approach to an extent, because I don't know Austin's like end goal, long-term goal, if he wants to run this business forever, if he wants to sell the business, right? But when he has like what appears to just be different brands all under the same brand name, brand goes far. Like it's an intangible asset that people don't talk about that creates a lot of value. Brand creates a lot of value, right? I'm not going to go into depth about it, but it creates a lot of value, which makes his business more profitable. There's more demand. People are easier to refer because they know the business name. And then to the acquirer, that's going to have some level of value to it as well. And so if he's already having the branded searches, I would say bearclawfiremitigation.com is perfect. It won't confuse the users at all that are already aware of the business when they see Bear Claw Land Services and Bear Claw Fire Mitigation. Like if they see both, I don't think it really matters. I think it'd be totally fine. So the next step, since like that domain is off limits, can't get it, it's already purchased. Bear Claw Fire Mitigation would be my next step.
Now, I'm just going to probe a little bit more. Is there any value to firemitigationnearme.com, a domain like that? Or do you recommend people to do the service plus the service area that they're going after?
Service plus service area. So, like we've tested it because it seems like outside theory, it seems like it would make sense at first when you're inexperienced. It seems like near me would make a lot of sense. And then there's like this middle ground of like your education where it's like, oh, let me maybe just play with this and try this. And then you learn that Google doesn't like that. Like it's a very clear, evident that you're trying to game the system. And SEO is gaming the system as a whole. Like that's what it is. Like you're gaming the search engine. but like it's just so obvious at that point that you'll get dinged and you potentially get penalized for it doing that. So location or like with the brand name.
Okay. So just to be clear, though, your 100% recommendation for anybody would be Colorado fire mitigation, or would it be wildfire mitigation Colorado? Is it service area first or service
You know what? I
first?
don't have like a really, I just want the words to be in it, and whichever order they're in just has to make logical sense to a human being. Not like because the things you do on Google just has to make sense for a human as well. So as long as it's a primary keyword and a location, whichever way it sounds correct, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine either
Okay.
way. Either way you go about it.
So wildfiremitigationcolorado.com is available.
That's perfect. I didn't look up. Let me actually do the search because we didn't put wild. I put like fire mitigation and things like that, but I didn't put wildfire.
Yeah.
So let me look at that quick. Keyword planner's being a little bit goofy with me. It's not giving me like a ton of like other recommended keywords, but fire mitigation itself seems to be the most searched from what I can see right now. But even if you have like the thing is like Google is smart. It's like you want to exact match as much as possible. But like, if you search McDonald's and you spell it like really far off, it figures it out and it's going to show you a McDonald's Google business profile, right? Like it's pretty smart. It's like wildfire mitigation. I think sounds better from a branding perspective than just fire mitigation because you're talking into more of a pain point, right? Like a more well-known pain point when you attach wild to wildfire versus just fire mitigation. I think it's like more just known that like everybody up there in the mountains know they run the risk of a wildfire, right? And so you're talking to that specific target market in that area. If I'm kind of rambling on, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Let's just say the goal was to dominate the Western United States eventually over the next 10 years. Let's just say that that's the goal. And I'm doing this as a thought experiment. If the exact match search term is available, do you take the location out and just do the search term? Like if you can find a branded domain as the search term, is that a strategy that people use, like roofing.com, and then build out different, roofing Florida, roofing Georgia, roofing?
Yep. Yeah. So we worked with
As the page.
company roofer.com, right? So like very quickly, if you just Google roofer right now, like roofer.com is going to appear because that's a term people search to find roofers. They search roofer too. So it's extremely helpful. And so like, yes, like just an exact match of like that search term would work just fine. And again, but there's multiple paths you could go. So like you could be a crazy maniac and you could have like 60 different websites across all these areas that are all exact match across these locations, which most people might not just want to go through the work to do it because it's not easy to do. And like, if you don't know how to do it yourself, it's going to be expensive to do. But I actually like that a lot because now I have 60 different pages, like 60 completely different websites out there targeted, hyper specialized into all of these locations, that now the probability that somebody searches and finds me is really high because now I'm like in 60 different places. Is why we like to do Google Ads and SEO together, because now your Google ads #1, but there's a subset of the population that scrolls right by the ads and goes to organic results. And now you're #1 in a Google business profile too, or they click into your ad and they pop out of the ad and they scroll down, and they see you again ranked in the map pack. And now you get the click and you get the call from there. And so I have a bias towards being seen as many places as possible, with as many websites as possible. But I know you're like, I'm always bad at this. People are always looking for concrete answers, but I'm just like, oh, there's so many paths that we could go, and I never end up giving like a good, solid, concrete answer. But like your path would work just fine. That would work fine because you can just think of it like a franchise, right? And so like when you go into individual markets, like there's one main franchise website, right? But naturally over time, all of those franchisees get a lot of traffic to their websites. Maybe they're doing SEO because there's like websites within websites. You can set up a structure like that, and the domain authority increases across the entire website because all of these places are getting traffic. And typically, you'll see when a franchise has been around for a long time comes into a new market and they create that new website within that new market, it ranks relatively quickly because they get to leverage all of that traffic, all of the domain authority from all of the other franchisees and the main franchise overall, into their strategy. So like typically those guys will rank rather quickly. It's an unfair advantage that they get, but they pay for that advantage by being a franchisee.
For sure. So if somebody were to come to you, like this one's way already taken, roofing.com, right? If somebody were to come to you and be like, hey, I want to build the biggest roofing business in the United States, I have roofing.com.
Yep.
Help me build an SEO package around that to dominate multiple areas. Is that something you guys are comfortable offering in-house?
Yeah. And so it would come with like, you're either going to go the ton of website routes or you're going to go that main website route, but we're going to have a crap ton of Google business profiles because every location that you want to service, we're going to get a Google business profile in. And you might even want 2 Google business profiles if it's a population dense enough area. And so one of the things from an SEO perspective is like, well, right now for your profile, like there's just such low competition in the entire state that it can just rank really, really far, really wide. But in reality, like it come back to like a roofing company or even a pressure washing company example, there's so many businesses that one singular Google business profile is only going to rank so well in such a proximity, right? And the proximity that's going to rank well is going to be much different if you're in New York City, right? Like think about how dense that place is and how many businesses are on one block. Like you're not going to probably rank #1 across all of New York City for your search term, right? It'll be within the boroughs or something like that. And so when you're in a pretty dense population, say Austin, Texas, there's, I don't know if they call it like East and West or North and South Austin or whatever, but you might have a profile up north and a profile south in Austin as well, because you want to be able to like attract businesses in both of those. And actually we do have a couple of businesses that rank across Austin, which is crazy. It's like I need to get a trophy about it and put it on the wall behind me, because that's like one of my biggest SEO achievements. But multiple Google business profiles would be the play there. If you're just like roofing.com and you want to expand multi-state or even just like multi-county across the state, a lot of Google profiles.
Awesome. Okay, so I've got 2 options for you, and we're going to do this in real time. I've got a domain in my cart. I've got 2 different domains in my cart. If you're recommending as an SEO pro, knowing what I want to do, the answer is we're going to focus on fire mitigation services, and we're going to dominate the 1 to 35 acres at the residential level. We're going to start here locally, and then we're going to expand as the business makes sense, to do so in a profitable, bootstrapped, cash flow positive way, right? So it's not go raise VC money and go dominate the whole Western United States tomorrow. It's build the brand consistently, profitably over time and dominate that service. Do you recommend that I go with bearclawfiremitigation.com, which is $11.28? Or do you recommend that I get wildfiremitigation.com for $2,500 and then we build a strategy off of that?
I'm going to go with Bear Claw Fire Mitigation. I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'm going to tell you why, because I think you're going to end up with the same result because you have fire mitigation already in that domain. You can pay what, 5% of the price and probably with the same result as well, because it's still going to rank really, really well because nobody else is doing SEO at this level for fire mitigation in the first place. And so exact match, as we roll that out, it's already going to rank well. And you're the one that's actually creating the market and creating the demand as well. And so, like, even when people have broader searches, they might have already had those searches because they saw your ads and they're now thinking about it. And then they're going to see that name and click on you anyways. So I think like I think doing just fire mitigate or like wildfire mitigation would undermine the brand long run. And so like the way that I'm thinking about this is like, of course, I'm thinking about it from an SEO perspective, trying to get the best results there. But like from the overall business perspective of what's going to be best for you for the next 10 years, right? I think is going to be better to be branded.
Love it. Let's complete this purchase here. BearClawFireMitigation.com is yours. So next steps from here. At the most basic level, what are we going to do moving forward?
So initial website build, which will be basically like what we talked about, like the heading 1 tags. So it's going to be basically like the slogan can change a little bit as long as it includes fire mitigation in the term. So #1 top rated fire mitigation Colorado, or 5-star rated fire mitigation, however you want to brand it, right? As long as it includes fire mitigation and Colorado in this term. And of course, if you expanded multi-state, we'd have to remove Colorado and say mid or west coast. I don't know. Like we would figure out the geographical term, right? And so website build, and then those primary services that I talked about, like on the main Bear Claw site, we have like tree removal and all of those things. We'll build pages for even just like variations of the search term. So we'll do a wildfire page and a fire mitigation page. Like we'll, even though like they're so super similar, if you just like want to ball out for SEO, we're going to do it that way for the primary service pages. And then basically every single location that you want to target, no matter how small the town is, we're going to build location specific pages for fire mitigation in this place, because that comes down to the relevancy aspect. We're telling Google's algorithm that we provide this service in this location. So when someone's in that location and searching for the service, the probability that we rank higher drastically improves because we have content there. But again, remember, we're probably over the course of time, like this isn't something we just do in 2 weeks, right? But we're going to have Google business profiles for fire mitigation, which then requires you to get DBAs. We can do them as service area profiles. In the future, you might want to do a physical address on one, like as like cash flow starts rolling in. Physical addresses are now superior at this point. They are more trusted, is essentially why they're so superior. So yeah, that full content build out, and then Google business profiles. Then obviously the off-page work, which is going to be primarily just citations are for the Google business profile, which would primarily build when you have a physical address. But backlinks will be very big for this, because some ways that people search your service right now, again, since this is such a unique thing, there are terms that do not have Google business profiles populate for specific search terms. And so the way that people search, there's going to be potentially times where the map pack does not show, and it's completely certain the search engine results page, just the websites. So the links are specifically to improve in the search engine results there. And so that'll be like, yeah, to sum it all up, like new website build, content specifically all towards fire mitigation across all of those locations, backlinks in the articles. The links are going to be about like the top rated fire mitigation company in X location. And there's going to be a whole article about it. It's going to link back to Austin's website, build trust and credibility through relevancy of that article and being linked to his website, and then the Google business profiles. So it sounds pretty simple. Like it is, it's simple, but this is not easy to do. That's the thing. It's like some people, like we've had clients are like, oh, I think I'm going to go do this on my own. We're like, oh, okay, go ahead. We'll see, we'll see in a couple of months, because I get it. It sounds simple. It sounds simple, but it's not easy.
No, no, not easy at all. Especially to crank out at the rate that your team cooks. It's
And to the
incredible.
millennial mom that asked the question, millennial money mom, I like that name. Yes, you can have the same website in Google Business Profiles. What I'd recommend is if you have multiple Google Business Profiles, is that if it's Andy's Roofing, if so, like say your location's Fort Lauderdale, like you got a second profile in a new city and you want to use the same website, and say this new city's Fort Lauderdale, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to create a landing page on the website that's like andysroofing.com/Fort Lauderdale. That's going to be the link that you put in your Google Business Profile, because that heading one tag and the title tag that's on that page will directly match the target location of the Google Business Profile. So you want to do it that way. Like you can just link to like the main homepage, but it's going to be better to hyper target it.
Millennial Money Mom, any more questions specifically on that? Feel free to add them in your chat. We'll move to the next question here. How much should we invest for local domination?
So almost impossible to actually give you like a dollar amount answer because I don't know your service. I don't know where you're at, right? This is going to be like if you're a lawyer in New York City, I'm about to tell you like 75, 100,000, maybe more dollars a month. You know, if you're a cleaning company in rural Pennsylvania, I'll tell you maybe $1,000 a month, right? But like if just overall to like give you a real answer, just if somebody says they're going to do like SEO for you and they're going to charge you $500, just save your money. Just don't even if you can't afford $1,000 or $2,000, just don't even save your money until you can. Oh, kitchen remodeling, perfect. So depending on location, Orlando, perfect. I would say you're going to be looking at like if you're going to work with us, we're not going to put you on our lowest package as a remodeler, because you really want to put the pedal to the floor, because like you're just like Austin Service here where you're high ticket. So like we want to put you on one of our higher packages that's like $2,000 to $3,000 a month, because it's going to move the needle much faster to get you where you want to be. And you're going to recoup that investment relatively quickly once we break through a threshold and you're selling $25,000 bathroom remodels. And you might have paid us like $12,000 or $20,000 until you like start seeing a threshold break and like more leads pouring in. Like the return on the investment is just so obvious. But you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And then like, so like, would use the example as if you're working with us, like you just have the fees, like, and then everything's done for you after that. Like it's completely, we do all of it. All you got to do is get reviews on your end. It's completely done for you. And so you're just basically looking at those fees from SEO perspective. Then there's Google ads and there's other marketing channels that you can do. But I could go on a whole another 10-minute monologue about those. So if you have a specific question about one of those, I'm happy to answer. Average job, 40K, 10 reviews a month, 5 stars, one ranked number 1 for kitchen modeling. Yeah. If your average job is 40K and you're getting 10 reviews, it's definitely possible. The first thing we would look at is what is your business name on your Google Business Profile. We're probably going to, if you worked with us, like this would be pretty much a non-negotiable to get you there as fast as possible. We'd make sure you have to get a physical address on your profile, which we would assist you to do. And we would help you get a DBA that contains bathroom remodeling Orlando in the business name. So you're going to be Andy's Bathroom Remodeling of Orlando with a physical address in Orlando. And then as you drive reviews and all of the things that we do on page and off page, it's just a matter of time. Like that's all it is. It's just like, we know exactly what to do. It's just like, if you ask me, is this 30 days? Is it 90 days? I don't know. Like I know it's going to happen, but I'm not going to say this day for sure. Right. Like that's just a lie to tell you a specific, like definitely by this time.
Okay. Millennial Money Mom asked, I have a client on WordPress and I want to move them off of it. Will that tank their ranking?
Yeah. So you definitely got to be careful, because we've made this mistake in the past when transitioning websites. And so you're going to notice an effect because the Google Search Console change, but you can reduce the effect that it will have on like a decrease in rankings and decrease in traffic is if you take basically the exact content that's already on the website that they have and transition that exact same content, the same structure, the same internal links to the new website, you're going to be better off. But then I would just ask, like, why would you want to move off WordPress anyways? Like maybe you're doing something specifically for design and you want to use Webflow or something like that. It's a little bit fancier, but WordPress is like 40% of the entire internet, and you pretty much do anything you want there. So I would just question like needing to move them off of WordPress in the first place.
And I'll jump in there too. I saw a post from Connor Schouler yesterday, who is another SEO, and just does crazy amounts of volume in like pretty competitive markets in SaaS and whatnot. And he tweeted about that yesterday as well. Like WordPress is still the 500-pound gorilla here.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, you don't quite see the beautiful websites, like the beautiful, like, you see apple.com on WordPress probably, right? Like Framer and Webflow, if you're creating like real fancy e-commerce websites, right? You'll probably use one of those. But if you're like working with local businesses, it's perfect for SEO. And what's also perfect is if you use Elementor, like the way that we do business is there's people that will kind of hold websites hostage. I don't want to own anybody's website, right? And so I hand it off to them, and it's super easy for them to be able to log in, and like they need to edit some text on their website, like they can go edit some text in WordPress. Like it's not like super confusing.
Yeah, agreed. Before we built our website in WordPress, I was always playing around with designs and Webflow and all that stuff. From a design perspective, it is really cool. But with Elementor, we've been able to just like jump in and quickly learn how to make edits as needed. So I still like using Elementor with WordPress just from a client side. All right, what other questions do we have from people who are here live? Josh, you still with us? Thanks for joining, man. Hope all is well out there with odd jobs. Been seeing some of your posts. Looks like you guys are cranking.
Yeah, that guy does crank.
Yeah. Josh, I need to have you back on the podcast. It'd be great to catch up, hear how business is going.
If nobody asks a question, I got a question for you, Austin. How are you using AI right now?
And I should go into ChatGPT and let's see. So for this school group, like the custom GPTs that I've had, it's been really cool because for those of you who are just joining, like our goal with the podcast has been just to offer as much free value for local service and home service businesses from a marketing and growth side of things. I also nerd out on systems, things like Jobber, things like Go High Level, text and automation sequences in our marketing funnel. And so I've learned that by teaching these concepts, it has made me refine or sharpen my sword, so to speak. And so I've had a ton of fun building this school community. And it's free for anybody to join. So if you guys are in a home service or local service business, you can jump in school.com/ownerops. That's SKOOL.com/OWNROPS. To answer your question on ChatGPT, I've built some custom GPTs so that when I record videos in Loom right now, which I love that tool. If you're not using Loom, check it out because I think everybody should and could be using it to leverage quicker communication. And to cut down on meeting times. Loom on one of their plans, I think it's like $20 a month per seat, but it has transcription and AI within it. So I can basically go copy the transcription of the video that I just taught on, and then I can paste it into ChatGPT and this custom GPT that we have built, and I have it trained to give a video description with like checklists for anybody who's watching those videos. So yeah, just like rapidly cutting down on all the administrative work that goes into creating like an educational platform. And then I basically just like take that video description and then I turn it into a school post, and then I'll turn it into an X post. And so like a lot of my X content right now, some people, have mixed opinions on this, but it's like, I just take content from things that I have recorded out of my brain because that's my preferred form of getting thoughts out of my brain. And then I'm leveraging AI to summarize after the transcription and then put that into a GPT to basically pull out the high level points. And so It works for me. I think some people are really good at writing. I just prefer to jump on camera and like start brain dumping because that's how I get the best. That's how I'm able to formulate thoughts and concepts and put all of my ideas together to make it all make sense. And then AI is like taking the brain dump, summarizing, streamlining the process, and then creating the posts where I need to promote those videos or how I need to communicate that, right? Then I can copy that and then I can be like, hey, write an email for our newsletter to like tell them about the main points of this video. So that's a big way I'm using
Do
it.
you um,
You?
use it in a lot of different ways? So for us, we're an internet business, so we do all of our account managers, are doing Google Meet calls. So we use like Fireflies to record the transcription of those calls, and so I bounce back and forth between. I don't use GPT as much as I used to. I use Claude and Manus. Manus is pretty next level, to be honest. It's Chinese. I think it's Chinese owned LLM that's out on the market. So, however you feel about that and whatever you want to do with like specific data, up to you, I guess. But it's really good. But in Claude, like an example, Claude's really good. They have these things, they're called MCP connectors, where you can connect in your outside tools. So if you use HubSpot, you can turn it on and you can connect it to authorize to your HubSpot, and you can talk with your HubSpot data and have it extract certain things for you, right? And so one of the things I'll do in Fireflies is what we use to transcribe our calls. I'll go through, like, let's say our sales calls, and I'll say, what are the most common objections, most common pain points, most common concerns out of these prospects in the last 30 calls? Please list them as they apply in order of frequency. And then also give me direct statements in quotations of what the prospects actually said. Then when I'm writing marketing material, I'll handle those objections and those concerns in the marketing material. So before they get to the sales call, hopefully I can handle those objections prior. For like account managers, quality assurance, quality analysis, to make sure, like they're just fitting our standards of, we hold everybody to, it's not easy to work for us because we hold everybody, I think you do too, Austin. I can't say it's not easy because we're always positive. We're always super positive. The mindset's always positive. It's all about growth. It's never like negative or condescending in any sense of a manner. We just hold people to high standards. So world, like we always say, we want to be the best in the world. That's the goal. And so everybody needs to be held to world-class standards. The team holds me to world-class standards too. Like if I'm being lazy, I expect them to call me out on, something that I'm doing
Yep.
as well. A little off topic from the AI, but that's one component. And then this is two super simple things that you should definitely do is, have you used canvases in like GPT or Claude? Have you used those before?
No.
Oh my gosh, Austin, you got to see. Like this is like if you're working through a document. Let's see. Help me write an SOP for a sales process. Put it into a canvas. And so this is going to be like a game changing. If you're ever creating like SOPs or documents inside of GPT, so you can put it into a canvas like this, right? And so now I can just talk to it over here, and like I can be like, in step one, initial lead qualification, I think we should do these other things. Like we should have these directions, or we need to add more in purpose. I'll just say it over here, and it'll just update that section in Canvas, which is really nice. Instead of like if you've created like documents before, that you'll say something, they don't have to write the whole thing again and write the whole thing again over and over again. Instead, you can just work into a canvas, and then show you. Like I mentioned, I use Claude a lot, and so you can do this in GPT as well. But I highly recommend using projects, right? And so in the project, you can upload a bunch of files to it, transcripts, SOPs, whatever you want, and then like I give like really deep instructions on things, like a lot of instructions to the GPT on like how it's supposed to perform. And then it like remembers all of these chats within the project much better than it would if you were just like in like a regular, like big chat. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so you're gonna get like better performance in a project rather than, and so a project's kind of like a custom GPT a little bit, but except you can store all of those like individual conversations in there nicer. But we also have custom GPTs. Like I'm going to give you, I got to get the link. I'll give you one that you can put in your school community. It's for Google Business Profile verification. So like all of our internal documents on basically how to do it are in there. And it'll just respond to you. Like you have a question, it'll respond to you on how to what would be correct to do with the next step or whatever. So that way you guys can have like a custom GPT that you can, I don't know if anybody wants to use it in there, because people probably ask about it, probably talk about it. So you can have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andy has been kind enough to let us use a lot of the content that he's created already around Google Business Profiles. I realized that as I was creating stuff within the school community, this was last week, like I had already like went through and I was creating all this stuff. I'm like, then I went on your YouTube. I'm like, Andy's already gone through all of this in detail, and they're really nice and professionally edited. So I texted Andy. I'm like, do you care if we just like share this with our listeners? And he's like, absolutely. So, the benefit, it's like all those videos are out there on YouTube, but I've sort of organized those in the order that I think they're important to someone who, going back to your like awareness level, like may know nothing about Google Business Profile. And for example, like one of the guys who I've been doing some coaching work with came in and he came from kind of like high ticket sales and he's jumping into the service-based industry. And it's funny, people who come from internet marketing, like Google is just not really a topic in if you're just running funnels, right? Or if you're running paid ads to a landing page. And so like, this is a very experienced marketer. He had heard about Google Business Profile, but he's like, what do I need to do? Like, just give me the quick rundown. And so I kind of structured that in a way that could help him just work through, like, here's everything that you need to think about. Here's everything that's going to go on behind the scenes, local SEO. And then, here's what you need to do next for how to go verify. And like for anybody who's watching on my channels right now, Striker and Andy has done a really good job of creating helpful content specific to local SEO. And they basically put out the playbook for how to go get verified at a local address. And so I don't know at this point, how many have we done together? 3 or 4. We just did the one down in Texas. It's like, I go back to that video every single time and I follow the playbook. And people will text me and they're like, hey, do I need to do this part? And it's like, yes. Every single thing that they mention, do it in there and don't skip any steps. And if you do that, there's a good chance that you get verified. And guess what happens if you skip a step? You don't get verified. I've done it multiple times.
Yep. It's especially for a new person, the Google Business Profile is overwhelming because it's just like they made it super strict, which is actually a good thing. So people can't just be popping them up. Like scammers can't just be popping them up or like replicating your business and sending bad reviews to one that represents your business. Right. So it's strict, which is annoying when you're a real business owner, but it's actually a good thing that they do. It's like you appreciate it in the long run if you do like what people would do out there on the internet. But it's definitely overwhelming with like getting legal documentation, getting the DBA. I need a physical address. I need this signage, or I need this business card, and I need to do the video at this time with this person and whatnot. It's overwhelming. We're probably doing I bet we're doing, because basically we try to help everybody assist to get them a physical address if they're willing or want to. So we're probably doing a couple of them a week, honestly, at this point.
That's awesome. Okay, so the last thing I want to wrap up with here. What would have happened if I went and made a bunch of changes to bearclawlandservices.com, a website that already has some SEO juice and a higher domain rating?
Yeah. Luckily for you, I mean, if you change the heading tags into title tags, it was going definitely, like you would move backwards in a lot of areas if you would have like completely taken out our keywords that we placed into those. But luckily for you, there's low competition with your niche. So you would have probably been okay. Probably wouldn't have been too crazy of a deal. Like recouping and recovering wouldn't have been a big deal. But if you were like in a competitive market and you went in and made changes yourself, you're just going to basically, what's the right word for it? Basically just going to, you take a couple steps backwards. Yeah, like that's basically what I was looking for. Self-sabotage is what the term I was looking for. Basically self-sabotage. And so, yeah, like you would have self-sabotaged, you would have moved backwards, like traffic would have decreased, rankings would have decreased. And in a more competitive market, it would have been tough to put yourself back into the position that you were in. So yeah, definitely not recommended to go in and just like get antsy. And like, if you're working with an agency, like let them do the job. If they're not doing the job, like obviously fire them, like if they're not good. But you gotta like one of the things is like this is where I see many business owners really self-sabotage themselves, right? Like for some reason when people work with agencies, not everybody, but a good amount, they're almost looking for a reason to fire you from the day they hire you. Like they're waiting for one small slip up that's not even really a big deal. They're looking for a reason to fire you the whole time, which I just can't comprehend. Imagine like getting into a relationship. If you're a girl with a guy, like whatever the case is, like imagine just going into a relationship with somebody, knowing that you're just looking for any reason to break up with them, right? Like, like it's just set up for failure. Like it's set up for a lot of aggravation, frustration, stress for both parties. No, definitely not long-term success going into a relationship like that. And so it's one of the things that I see is that people kind of just will come in and they're like, they're already ready to self-sabotage. And no matter like, yeah, they just there's a lot of self-sabotage that happens and then a lot of lack of patience, which I totally understand because with SEO, like it's going to take time. And so the reality is that it is an investment. This is an investment that you're making, but I get it. It starts to feel like an expense because not every market, it's not going to be like it might be like we're working with one business in Austin, Texas for like 2 years at this point. And we're finally about to break through a threshold with them. Finally. And this guy could have easily given up, but if he gave up or just agency hopped or something, like he's just never going to make it anywhere at that point. You would just like continually self-sabotage him into the future. But I get it. It's like you don't understand it. You feel like maybe you're being led on or something like that. But like I see people quit too early and then are going into relationships looking for the way out right away. And so I just see people like they like waste our time, we waste their time. Or like, why do we even engage in this thing in the first place? Because like for us, we're looking to work with people for a long time, right? Like our ideal time we spend with a customer is probably 10 years. Like that's an ideal time frame. And when I look back at, I was doing some reflection the other day, going through like data of our customers and like how long certain people have been with us. And when I was looking at the people who have been with us for the longest period of time, I was like, wow, these guys are crushing it. Like these guys they're doing really good. And I'm like, well, I guess that's what happens when you stick to a process for 2 years or 3 or 4 years at this point now. Like, oh, you do get these guys do crush it. But like people want they can't handle delayed gratification, right? Like we all want
Yeah.
a magic. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself in different areas of life. Like I want a magic pill too. Like we all do.
There's a couple things that I want to mention there just from being on the client side. One, agency isn't going to solve all your problems. They can supplement though. And then two, lucky for you as a listener right now, if you don't have an agency, that the hardest part about picking someone and sticking with them long term is to know and trust that they're going to do a good job. Striker's at a point in their business where they have a track record of an unbelievable amount of testimonials and case studies at this point that you can basically just guarantee your success if you're in a market that does not have someone else dominating that market for a really high value keyword or competitive service. Like you can basically guarantee your success if you do your research early on by sticking with an agency long term who has a proven track record like Striker. But to your point, I see a lot of people, it's like it's funny how some operators will blame the agency, the marketing agency, as the first person or the first reason that their business is failing. It's like, if your business is failing, that's on you as an operator. Yeah. Like that is 100% your fault. It's not your agency's fault. It's not your mom's fault. It's not your wife's fault. It's your fault. And like the second you take that ownership, I believe things start getting better. But
yeah,
I wanted to mention that because I do see people just like immediately pointing fingers at the agency. It's like,
I have a perfect example. So when I met Austin in person, it was around maybe like it was like 13 months ago now. I was in Colorado and I met Austin in person. And when I met him, so like this goes into the point of like, one, we're an SEO agency. Like we control one variable of an overall business strategy, right? Like one variable. Austin was coming to visit my wife and I in Breckenridge. We were going to get lunch together. And when he got there, he told me like what he was doing on the way there. He was just making cold calls to build relationships with people that like worked for the city or did whatever. And so like one of the things like another misconception that people have is like they'll hire an agency and just kind of expect that they're going to build the whole business for them and they're just going to be flooded with leads and whatnot. But like you have to generate business on your own. Like, you also have to like shake hands and meet people and drive referrals yourself and things like that. And so that's kind of the magic pill misconception as well. It's like I'm just going to hire these people and pay them like all this stuff's going to get done for me perfectly. And not necessarily the case. You know, you got to have leads coming from all angles because there's going to be a time where SEO is slow. It's going to be dry. July 15th, August 15th of this year, basically I saw search volume plummet like negative 50% across a lot of industries and a lot of areas. So lead flow from SEO was really slow at that time, which is the whole reason you also need to be on Facebook ads and you need to like have in-person word of mouth referrals, like guerrilla marketing through like whether it's even TV commercials, sponsoring local little league teams. Like those things actually go much further than people think. There's just no way to directly attribute the revenue really. So it's harder to sometimes for people to make investments in those types of things. But the example is that Austin was coming to visit me and he was just making calls to people trying to generate and stir up business the whole time, knowing that right now he's probably not going to generate business today from this one single phone call, but just going, I can just tell that the way that Austin probably did these phone calls, he doesn't have to tell me, is he went into it and he's just making them aware of the solutions that they have for people, not making a direct hardcore offer like you have to work with me right now, building a relationship with somebody. And now when they need that service, who are they going to come back to? The guy that just treated them with respect and had a conversation with them and let them know about it. Right. And like those little things done correctly every single week for the next 10 years stack up really, really, really big because it's the repetitions that you put in. So if Austin does that and he eventually has contact with 500 people, right? If you spiderweb that out from the contacts that they have where they might have communicated as well, like he's spiderwebbing out to multiple thousands of people through 500 individual touch points. And then some of those touch points like lead to like a bunch of referrals just from one touch point. So he's increasing the surface area of luck, right? Like he's allowing himself to get lucky by making these connections. Like that's how you generate your own luck, generate your own business. And I got to hop off in just a minute, but I want to give you a shout out for that because that was like, that's what I already knew before. But I was like, this guy's going to have big success because I know that's not just like a one-off thing. You just like randomly decide today I have energy. And so I'm going to do this today. It's like, nope. Like Austin's like very structured and like, he probably does that. He probably has like a day and a time where he like tries to generate new business like that.
Well, I guess, yeah, I appreciate all that. My main thing that I'll add to that is like I'm driving somewhere, you know, a couple hours from where I live because I like doing business with people and I like building great relationships. So it was very important for me to meet Andy. And then same thing whenever Bodie came in and was skiing in Breckenridge, I did the same thing. But what I like to think about is like, what's the best use of my time right now? If I'm at the computer, what's the best use of my time here? If I'm in the car driving 2 hours, what's the best use of my time? Well, I'm just going to Google some quick property managers, builders, general contractors, real estate agents. Those people in any business, if you're in a service-based business, if you hit those people and if you consistently call them and just let them know that you provide a service, that's all you have to do to start the conversation. So if you're driving, just create a list. Google them, call them, stop in. Hey, I'm Austin. I was the one who just called you on the way over here. I just want to stop by and introduce myself. I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to look you in the eye. And then I'm going to leave you with a business card. And I'm just going to say, hey, we do wildfire mitigation. If you or anyone you ever know around here in Breckenridge ever come across the need for wildfire mitigation, just save this card, pass along the contact info. I'd love to come meet you on site and give you a free estimate. I'm not trying to sell right there. What I'm doing as an owner and as a marketer is I'm creating awareness. And the more awareness you have, just like SEO and Facebook ads, the more people are going to search for your brand, which it's just a math equation at that point. More traffic, more conversions, more sales.
Yep. Exactly what I was thinking. Hit it to the.
Well, good stuff. Listeners, Actually, Andy, where can listeners find more about your SEO services?
Yep. So our website is Stryker, STRYKER dash digital.com. And then we're super active on Twitter. And so if you guys are on Twitter, my handle is Andy underscore WLKER. But if you want to get in contact with us at all, talk with us at striker-digital.com. Find us there. Find all the services that we offer. Schedule a free call. If you schedule a call with us, you're going to walk away with value, right? No matter what the case is, like you're going to have a better understanding of where you sit in your market and like what needs to be done, whether we work together or not. Like you're going to leave better because you at least had a call with us.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for joining, Andy, and listeners who are joining live. We appreciate you guys joining this live stream. Andy and I, at least for the next foreseeable future, are going to be jumping on Friday mornings at 6 a.m. Mountain Time. That's 8 a.m. Eastern, correct?
Correct.
Every other Friday, we're just going to be talking offers, local SEO, basically everything growth related for local and home service based businesses. And if you are an operator of a local or home service based business and you want to get some more free growth resources, just go jump in our free school community. It's school.com/ownerops. That's SKOOL.com/OWNROPS. And with that, we're going to wrap up this week's episode. Thanks again for listening. Don't forget, work hard, do your best, never settle for less.